Hello, my favorite CopperCube people. So today we have another video. I believe it will be number 14 in the series on how to create your own MMORPG using CopperCube. And in this one, I'll try to explain what was done in order to fix the issues we had last time. The issue was that it wasn't possible to move between the scenes properly because everything was lagging and everything was janky and so on. But now everything seems to work fine, and I will just explain you what I did. Basically, I did two big changes. The one is related to the scene change, and another one is related to how the interpolation is working. So the thing which we've done in video number 2, I believe. And these are quite big changes, and they improved the gameplay quite a lot. At least I believe so. I think so. But let's just go through the code and you will see it for yourself, I guess. So first of all, what was the issue the last time with jittering? The issue was that I wasn't moving characters from scene to scene properly. So I changed the flow on how it goes quite a lot. I've also changed this connect uh, endpoint quite a lot. And another thing, I had to change the client itself. I've added another scene which I called preload. So this is the default scene. The characters goes first, not the character. I mean that loads first. The player gets there first, and this preload scene then moves you to another scene, which is which you actually are on, which is required to be loaded. So also some of these behaviors which I had here before, like for example this one, which is called connect, the one which gets the initial information about player, uh, is now only inside the preload scene. So if I have another two here, as you can see, there's no connect behavior anymore. And the issue is that even though it was added only on, I mean, if it's added to each scene, it's actually called multiple times. Even though the scene is not active, before the first drowning behaviors are still executed. I didn't know that actually, but now I know. And now it seems to work more or less proper. I mean, I still have some issues with like some nodes are not found or something like that. But to be honest, I have no clue how to debug it, so I will just leave it as it is because everything seems to be working fine right now. So let's just go through the flow right now, how it works and how transition between scenes is working properly now. So first of all, when user opens the game, this preload scene appears for a brief moment. Um, I'm not quite sure if it will work right now, if you can see it. So there will be this like gray square for a second, and then the character moves to the correct scene. So what happens here on the preload scene, before the droning, it calls the connect function. And it also restarts both test and town scene. I need to do it every time, actually, when switching the scene, but we will just get there soon. So first of all, it calls the connect scene. What connect does, it's pretty much the same as it was before. So we can just go to CopperCube connect action. And as you can see, it just calls the endpoint connect. If you remember, previously we were generating global player ID on the player side. So it was like that. And we were sending it to the server. But now we are generating it on the server side instead. And this sort of breaks the approach which I wanted to do before, because I wanted to use this global ID for login. And now I don't know how I will implement login, but I mean, it works for the current situation. So I just leave it as it is, and I just come up with something when we get to the login, if we get to the login. So what happens here? It just does a call to connect endpoint, and on the server side, um, I define the player scene as scene down. This also requires to do, which is for some reason here. It should be here. So scene will be defined by in which scene player is actually located, and this will be taken from the database or whatever source I'm going to use. It will be Mongo most likely, free Mongo. Um, I'm thinking about it, not quite sure. Then I'm generating player ID, and the same way as it was before, I create a player instance on the server side. So I pass ID there, and I'm also passing the scene. I believe I made this change in the last video, so I didn't made it offline. Basically, what it does, this new parameter, I pass it to back all the way to the actor superclass or base class, and I just assign it as a current scene. Then what I'm doing next, I from the scene manager, I find the scene by its basically by its name, and I push players. I push current player to the players array of that scene. So I'm not calling player method to move from scene to scene. I'm just pushing it directly to the scene for the first time when I'm doing it initially. And also, the changes. The new thing is that I'm sending this scene name back to the client. On the client side, as soon as I receive the data, first I definitely need to parse it. This is obvious, I think, just to deserialize the data to the JavaScript object. I assign a global player ID now. It's defined in my main behavior here. So now I have like global player ID, and it's now defined here. Not defined, I mean, now it's what the word is. Freaking hell, I keep forgetting the common words. So basically, I assign it, assign it. I just assign it here, basically. And then I'm switching, the client switch to the scene using default CCB function, CCB switch to scene function, and it takes the name from the player current scene, which also means that all the scenes which I have on the backend should have the same names as I have here in my editor. And the last thing I do, I reset all other scenes. So basically, I reset everything except the preload scene. And this should be done every time I'm changing the scene. Well, that way we are getting to the next scene. We are switching to the next scene. And what happens? And it works. Basically, it works fine. When the regular general behavior works as expected. So what happens in case I'm trying to switch the scene? Currently, I'm doing it using chat. So we can just go to our chat. I just made so many actions to call stuff that I don't think it's a good actually good decision to have that many of them. For example, to have separate action for revive, for poll chat, but it works now, and if it works, I think it's good for me. Well, I think it's bad, but it's good enough. So polling chat, not polling chat, post chat, call chat, whatever is it called. I forgot how I called it. Get data, disconnect, coop connect, sync call, revive. Okay, I don't actually for this one I don't have a separate action. It's inside index. So in case I'm sending a chat message, where is it? It should be somewhere here. I completely forgot. Where is it? I thought it should be there. So mouse event. Let's just figure out what happens. So if I press enter, okay, so it's just right here inside on key event. All right, this is pretty awful. I'm not sure why is it here. It should be separate function, so it's easier to understand what is happening. Update chat on new line sent. We don't need this to do anymore. All right, so basically, if we are sending chat, we just send it as regularly. Nothing has happened. That's why I didn't remember should happen. So basically nothing is happening here. Yeah, it's pretty much the same as it was before. On the server side, I think it's almost the same as I had it in the last video. So in case this put an endpoint, put chat message endpoint is called, I have this section related to changing player position. So if message is down or test and player is not dead, in this case, I define scene to go. So scene to go will be either scene down or scene test based on basically message property. If player scene, current scene is not scene to go, so if player tries to move to another scene, if it's on down, he or she tries to move to test and vice versa. In that case, we are calling move to scene action from player. And also here I have this section there, it directly changes the coordinates of the player. I'm not quite sure how this should work right now, because I will be using some sort of like trigger zones or something like that. So basically there would be a zone, let's say players in town. Let's just run it really quick. So the player is in town and they try to leave the town, and there somewhere between like these two mountains, the road goes, there would be sort of a trigger zone like that. And if you enter it, you will move to another zone, right? And based on, so one level might have multiple trigger zones, and based on which trigger zone you entered, you should be moved to the corresponding, not landing zone, let's call it landing zone, to corresponding coordinate inside other zone. So for example, if just to make it more clear, paint faster. So for example, if we have like, imagine this is our town and this is like the road to another zone. So here we have like forest zone 1 or something like that, where you can hunt monsters. And there is another exit to another zone, like this is like forest 1, this is forest 2, this is town, and so on. And basically these are separate scenes. So if you're moving from town and there is a trigger zone here, let's just do it maybe red. There is a trigger zone here, you should be moved to this zone here, right? And if you're moving from, let's say, from forest zone from here, you should be moved to trigger zone here. So this is also something that I need to figure out how to do. I mean, it doesn't seem like it's something hard to implement or this is something not doable, but this is still need to be done. And currently, this is the logic. So basically, it depends on like which zone you selected, but this should probably be it should probably depend on not only move scene but also on like the trigger move zone, something like that. So it should be based, the exact coordinates should be only also based on like which trigger zone you actually enter. Yeah. So what's happening here? This is the whole logic. Let's go to move to scene and see what's going on here. So here I actually have only one parameter in the function signature, which is a scene name. Basically, it's not, it shouldn't be here. It should be somewhere else. Basically, if player is dead, I'm not sure why I have it here again, but if player is dead, I'm not doing anything. You can't move to another scene if you're dead. First of all, I'm getting the old scene using scene manager. Yeah, scene manager. If old scene name not equals to new scene, so if I'm trying to move to another scene, I also have this check doubled here. Not sure why, but probably it's a mistake and I just forgot, but since I have it in both places and it works, I will just leave it as it is. And now what I'm doing here, if these scenes are not equal, it means that I need to translate player to another scene. First of all, I'm removing player from the first scene, from the old scene. And this is something that I believe I was not doing properly before, but now I'm doing it and it works as expected. So first of all, I'm just filtering the array and I'm removing player with current player ID from the scene. This also might be the scene. It might be the scene method, but I use it in a couple of places already, and I will just leave it as it is. Um, I'm changing current scene of the player to the new scene, and in the new scene, I'm just pushing the new player, and I'm setting player state to standing. Which also means that, for example, in case you were attacking someone during the transition or something else was happening, you will just reset to the initial position and there will be no issue. If, for example, that target actor is not found or something like that. So I'm just resetting to the mass default state there, nothing is happening. And basically, yeah, this is how transition works. And it seems pretty straightforward, but for some reason I was struggling with it quite a lot last time. So this is the first change I was about to talk. And the second thing is that players, some people in the Discord, in the CopperCube Discord, they told me that they tested the game, which I'm really thankful for. And they told that this test scene has actually a lot of jittering. And also, just in case, showed me the video with this jittering. And I thought it was related uh, the to the interpolation, how interpolation works. And it appears that I was right for once. And it was actually related to how interpolation was working. So I changed the way how I calculate the positions of entities, and I'm going to show you what I've done here. So first of all, what was the issue? Like, why was it happening? So let's just do paint once again. Let's just do it like that. I'm not sure why is it so big, but whatever. So first of all, what was happening before? Um, As you remember, let's say where is the character, right? So we have the character state, which we were receiving every 100 milliseconds. So it's like 100, 200, 300, and so on. And if you want to calculate the position, let's say here 150, what we were using the linear interpolation. So when you position at 100 milliseconds, when you position at 200 milliseconds, uh, basically we know that this is a distance which character have moved between them, and we were just subtracting 200 minus 100, and we were dividing this distance by the value, right? Uh, am I just have I just said something stupid? Basically, you got it. You got it. We have a linear interpolation, right? So basically, um, distance is equals to linear speed multiplied to the time. This is the formula. So we're not dividing, we are calculating the speed and then we were multiplying it by time. This is what we were doing, the linear interpolation thing. Uh, yeah, and so here we will know that between these two values, right between these two values, the player would be here. So what was happening? I was getting these values, the exact times on the client side first. And because ping from to the server was actually different every time. So for example, this request might come at, let's say, 120. The next request instead of 200. It might come at 200, like let's say 13. This request might come at like even 350 or something like that. So there was quite a huge difference between how fast a request is executed. So if your connection to the server wasn't that good and server connection to the internet isn't that good, in that case, you might have a lot of jittering because instead of this linear diagram, you receive something like here, then you have the next request here, then you have it here, and so on. And this like difference, which not difference, I mean, these different points, which I consider linear, they were actually not so linear. And this was pretty stupid, to be honest, stupid approach. So what I've done instead, now I am sending the is times here, like this, let's say 100, 200, 300, and so on. I'm not defining them on the client. I'm defining them on the server side. And then I also need to sync time between client and server. And for that, I just Googled, to be honest, I've done like pretty stupid thing. I just Googled how it's done. And it appears it's pretty simple. I'm just gonna show you it in a second. And I asked ChatGPT to implement the algorithm for me, and it actually did the good job, and everything seems to work. But let's just go to implementation. I'll just show you. So here inside our test, let's say test level, we have this call, which is called every 100 millisecond. Nope, not this one, not every 100 millisecond. The one which is, yes, this one, 500 millisecond, which also polls the chat. So now I'm not only polling the chat, I'm also doing so-called sync call. And this is another endpoint which I introduced. So amount of endpoints is growing super fast. I'm not sure if this is good or not, but whatever, it works. So what sync does? Let's just go to the action first. So first of all, it calls our host sync time endpoint. No, it not only does this, it gets the local time using date now function. So this is time on the client side, right? On the client side, or there your game client is running, and then it is calling this sync endpoint. So what happens inside sync endpoint? Let's just find it here really quick. Where is it? Where are you? Where you disappeared? So here it is. What it does, it just does pretty much the same thing. It gets the time on the server side, stringifies it, and sends it back to the client. Now on the client side, I'm getting time again. As a server time, I just parse the data which I receive from the call. So this is a callback function. I'm just parse it to int. And now I have the initial call time. I have current time on the client, and I also have a server time. I am calculating basically ping, so it's half of the full turnaround time of the call. So basically, it's how fast call gets to the server, and I'm doing it by calculating now minus local time. So I'm just calculating like the full turnaround first, and then I divide it by 2. And then I'm calculating the difference between server time and current client time. What I'm doing here is I'm taking the now time, I subtract server time, and I also compensate by adding half of the latency here. Yeah, so that way I basically sort of know what is the difference between clocks on the server time, on the server and on the client. And the issue is that so basically, even though they might be like, I mean, client and server, they might be in different time zones, that would be an issue because I'm not using like time with time zones. I'm just using date now, which is an int representation, and it doesn't depend on the time zone. But the clocks could be not synchronized. For example, in my system, I have them synchronized to the internet, but the player clocks might not be synchronized, and that way I'm synchronizing the latency. And then the next thing which I do, I have a new array which I call syncs. Maybe not a good name, but whatever. I have this array here, and I'm pushing my delta time there. As soon as I have 12 syncs time, I'm also filtering them. And this is the part which is written by ChatGPT actually. What it does, it filters out the array based on standard median deviation, I think, at least. That's what the comment says. So basically, it somehow calculates the standard deviation. It somehow calculates a median error, blah, 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 error, median value of the whole array values, and then it filters all the array based on this like standard deviation. So it just subtracts actual value, it subtracts median value from from current value, and it compares it with standard deviation. And in that case, it's higher than the standard deviation. It's not added to filter to the array. So that way, I'm removing all the values which are not correct. Let's say. So for example, I had a really like big really long response time, for example, server lag or something like that. This, in theory, should filter out this value. To be honest, I think even if I just remove this thing from here and then just slice the array as I do here, so I'm not only filtering it out, I also remove part of the values in order for the new values to have space to come. Even if I don't do that, I think it will work still. But whatever, it's working like it is, and it's fine. And I also have introduced the current latency value, which is basically your ping. And I'm also calculating this half latency every time, and I'm assigning to current ping value. So where do I use this syncs array? Now inside my get data call here, I'm calculating delta time, which is a difference between server time and client time. So basically, it's an average value of all things which I have in array at the moment, and I'm just adding it to the time which now I receive from server. So I call it send at. So on the server side, if you go to update function, I've added this new field, which is called send at, and I'm just getting date now here. And oops, incorrect one. And here, adding this delta time, the difference between server and client time to compensate, to not compensate, I mean to calculate the correct received at value. So before it was just date now here, which was purely client time. And this only change seemed to fix a lot of jittering for me and for other people. And I think it's a very good change. I'm really happy I've done it. I'm not sure why I didn't do it for like from the beginning, but whatever, it was working. And as soon as it stopped working, we just fixed it. Um, Yeah, so I think these are all the changes, and I also get some other feedback regarding the keyboard layout that it doesn't work for some people, and actually, some people are not able to send, the question mark, and this is probably related to the keyboard layout because even though, for example, now I have like a Russian keyboard activated, you can't see it, but I do. I'm still typing in English. It's because CopperCube is using this, like key codes instead of real characters that you send. And this is something needs to be fixed. So the chat is still not working as good as it should. But overall, I think the last changes was pretty good, and everything is uploaded to the test server right now. So still freaking Sky is broken, but I mean it's the least of the issues. It's uploaded to the test server, so now you can try it yourself if you want. I will add this time. I will just pack everything like server files and also client and CCB file and so on. So this time I'll just pack everything and upload it to OneDrive. I still need to start GitHub, I guess, for the server at least, but I never done it. And I mean, hope goes away every day. I still need to do it, but I'm just too lazy. Yeah, but overall, these are the changes, and I think these are really good version. It appears to be really good version. On the client side, there are still a lot of things which are not working properly or which are coded in like in a really poor manner, but we're going to change that. And also, starting from the next one, I think we need to go to work more on the player profiles, adding some menus, adding inventory. I'm thinking about adding inventory next. So yeah, that's it. Basically, that's it. And the plan is that we're doing inventory the next time. Well, I guess see you then.